I'm actually mind blown right now because we just saw evidence that Paris Hilton called out Kim Kardashian for being directly involved in the Epstein network. This is something that I had not seen before, and that's actually a big part of the whole Kardashian case when we're trying to figure out how deeply in bed were they with Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. We're also taking a look at Joe Rogan, how he refused being part of the network and what his thoughts were, his genuine reactions to all of this happening. I'm gonna grab my coffee, kick back, and take a look at what's going on. I think that you guys should do the same.
You're going to see a real document sitting on the Department of Justice website right now that names the Kardashian sisters inside a Maxwell case victim complaint. You're going to see why Paris Hilton snapped and pointed her finger straight at Kim. You're going to see what Ray J was actually talking about when he said the words federal RICO investigation on a live stream. And you're going to see how Kris Jenner's whole playbook starts to look very different once you zoom out.
From what we're hearing here, we should see some substantial evidence that the Kardashian family is deeply embedded in this entire network.
So let's start with clearing Joe Rogan's name. And this is something that might surprise you as well. So Joe Rogan's name is actually in the Epstein files, but not for the reason you think. Back in 2017, a physicist named Lawrence Krauss, who had been on Rogan's podcast before, tried to set up a meeting between Rogan and Epstein. This was after Epstein's 2008 conviction, after everyone already knew what he did. And Krauss reached out and tried to make the introduction. Rogan's response, quote, "Are you high?" He then followed that up with, "What the are you even talking about? Like, what the are you talking about?" And that was it. Hard no. No meeting happened.
I'm in the files for not going.
Huh?
Yeah, I'm in the files for not going because Jeffrey Epstein was trying to meet with me.
Oh, I did see that.
Yeah, and I was like, what?
I'm like, no thanks.
Yeah.
Aren't you glad?
Yeah, but I would have never went anyway. It's like, it's not even a possibility that I would ever went.
But
especially after I Googled him. I was like, what the are you talking about? This was like 2017. One of my guests was trying to get me to meet him. I was like, are you high? Like, what the are you talking about?
For what?
Now contrast that with what actually happened with other people. Bill Gates kept meeting Epstein after 2008. Reid Hoffman, the guy who co-founded LinkedIn, appears over 2,600 times in the Epstein files.
Gosh.
2,600 times. Rogan said no immediately. He saw the red flags before most people were even paying attention.
Sorry about Rogan so far. He seems more timid than I would have thought. Do you mean he means he doesn't want to go to the Epstein Island? He doesn't want to go hang out with Woody Allen and a bunch of other PDF files at Epstein Island.
So when Rogan says the government is lying about those tapes, it's coming from a guy who already had his own personal moment of sizing Epstein up and walking the other way.
He has to feel, especially right now, like he knew at the moment that he was invited that this was some sketchy business, but at least now, knowing how all this has come out, he's got to feel very good that he made that decision and wasn't lured by any of the things that Epstein was offering to him.
So let's go back to that moment when Kash Patel showed up on Rogan's podcast and basically walked back everything Pam Bondi said. Rogan went on a follow-up episode in July 2025, and he wasn't holding back anymore. He said, quote, "Why'd they say there was thousands of hours of tapes of people doing horrible shit? Why'd they say that?" And then he pointed at something that a lot of people had already started noticing. Before joining the Trump administration, Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, and Dan Bongino were all demanding the Epstein client list be released. All three of them, publicly, loudly. Then all three of them joined the administration. And suddenly, there's no client list. No videos, no further disclosure, case closed. Rogan called it gaslighting, his exact words. He said the Trump administration was gaslighting the public over the Epstein files. And this is a guy who endorsed Trump in 2024.
For him to be saying these things now, having been a supporter in the past, really shows that he wasn't someone that was a Trump hater that is now just trying to pin more on Trump. He was a Trump supporter who now probably doesn't feel that same sentiment.
It's a very specific illicit desire to want underage people.
Well,
how do you even find out that someone's
Agreed.
into that?
He said, quote, "That film has a minute missing from it. Do you think we're babies? What is this?" And then he landed on the thing that he thinks is really happening. He said, "I think the cynical perspective is that at the highest levels, it's all being controlled by money. Whatever that compromise organization was, they're running another version of it right now."
So you think people just assume it's blackmail because that is how you would blackmail someone, especially underage girls?
I think it is very possible that there could have been indirect blackmail, meaning Epstein passes it on to an intelligence service, to a corporate espionage client or something, and they use that for their own purposes.
I think that that's already been confirmed, that all of this that was going on was Epstein collecting blackmail that could then later be used to get what he wants or what other governments want out of those high established people that are part of that network.
A compromise organization, where you give powerful people access to things they shouldn't have, and then you use that as leverage over them forever. That's the system Rogan thinks is still running. And it's the system that makes everything else in this video click into place.
Here we go.
A real document on the DOJ website names the Kardashians.
Yes.
Okay, so now we get to the Kardashians. And I want to be upfront about something before we dive in. What you're about to hear is from a victim complaint. It has not been proven in court. The people named in it have not been charged with anything. But this document is real.
I mean, nothing that's been in the Epstein files has been put into court except for Ghislaine Maxwell and Epstein himself. No one else has been in court for anything, so I think that goes without saying.
You can go to the Department of Justice website right now and find it yourself. The complaint was filed in the Maxwell case, and in it, the person writing says that Maxwell had a close relationship with the Kardashian sisters, and that they helped use the complainant's identity. The complaint goes further. It references pregnancy and surrogacy, and claims that eggs were used for pregnancies without consent. It brings up DNA testing. It alleges that the Kardashian sisters used the complainant's name and money to promote their businesses. There's also a specific cosmetic transaction cited tied to Kylie Jenner and a $600 million deal.
Wow.
Kim is named in allegations tied to identity issues and children. Khloe and Kendall are referenced for allegedly taking a special interest in the complainant's marriages and name changes. The complainant themselves admits they don't have documents to prove all of it, and they're asking investigators to look into it. Now look, some of this is hard to follow. The grammar in the original filing is rough. It's a messy document. One of the commentators covering this actually pointed that out and said that's what makes it complicated to fully assess. But here's what stands out. This document connects Maxwell, who was literally convicted of running a trafficking operation, to the Kardashian family. And the one thing that nobody is really disputing is that Maxwell went wherever money and influence went. That was her whole thing. Rogan's theory about the compromise system, give people access, then lock them in, doesn't require you to believe every single detail of this complaint. It just requires you to ask, how did the Kardashians get access to every single elite circle in Hollywood, business, and celebrity culture? Who opened those doors?
Kim Kardashian and her mom, Kris Jenner, have made a legal declaration under oath in the battle over her sex tape, over Kim's sex tape, and now they could be in serious hot water.
That's something that we just covered 2 days ago on the channel, that tape, and this is not new news, was actually not something that was leaked at all. It was a fully orchestrated event that was done by Kris Jenner, Kim Kardashian, Ray J. Everyone was involved in that, and it was a publicity stunt to bring popularity to the Kardashian family.
Kim Kardashian and her mom, Kris Jenner, have now filed a declaration under oath. This means this is big trouble if you lie on a document like this. But this all has to do with their lawsuit that they've filed against Ray J and the countersuit that Ray J filed. This all is over the Kim Kardashian and Ray J sex tape that came out from many years ago. And this continues to be a huge battle. In fact, Kris Jenner says this is haunting her every day of her life. So what is at dispute here is whether or not Kim and Kris were plotting to release this tape.
Here's the theory that keeps circulating, and honestly, it's the kind of thing that once you hear it, you can't unhear it. People are asking, what exactly was Kris Jenner's strategy? Because from the outside, her whole thing was placing her daughters in relationships and situations with the most powerful and wealthy men available. Every single time. That was the pattern. And people are asking whether that pattern, giving young women access to powerful men in exchange for influence, wealth, and status, looks different from what Epstein's network was literally convicted of doing. Now, before anyone comes at me, there is no official documented connection between the Kardashians and Epstein's island. None. What exists is a victim complaint, internet theories, and a pattern of elite connections that people are trying to make sense of.
Hold on for a second, because when I took a look at the video that we're watching right now, and I looked at the image representing this video, there was a picture of Kim Kardashian sitting on Epstein's lap. Now, because of that statement right there, we can assume that that was an AI-generated image and that actually never happened.
But here's the thing Rogan was getting at. He said the system isn't broken. It's working exactly as it was designed, and it protects people at the top from consequences every single time. The Epstein network was one version of that. Hollywood's access economy is another version. Different packaging, same structure. The dots connecting Kris Jenner to this story include the family's rapid rise during the exact period of Epstein's 2008 plea deal, their lawyer Alex Spiro, who appears in the Epstein files, and the way names like Lewis Taylor, Diddy, and the Kardashians all keep overlapping in the same circles. Again, not proven, but these aren't random theories either. They're patterns that enough people are noticing that a victim went to the Department of Justice and put it all in writing.
And I think that's what it is right there, is the patterns that are going on here. This is something that we've seen happen from Ghislaine Maxwell and Epstein themselves, and a similar fashion type activities, we can say, are going on with the Kardashian family. Now, they did mention Paris Hilton. I'm really interested to see how she gets pulled into this entire equation.
And then there's Paris Hilton, and this part of the story is wild. When the latest Epstein files drop happened, Paris Hilton's name showed up in those documents. And according to people who watched what happened next, that was the moment Paris went into survival mode. Because insiders say Paris looked around and asked, why am I the only one being publicly destroyed for this when Kim Kardashian was right there with me doing the same things, in some cases doing worse?
Whoa, okay, called out right there. Woo, I wasn't expecting that. I wasn't expecting that at all. Okay.
There's a documentary called Surviving Jeffrey Epstein that features an account of Maxwell recruiting Paris specifically. The person says Maxwell saw Paris at a party and said, and I'm paraphrasing, she'd be perfect for Jeffrey. Can you introduce us? Paris has denied knowing Maxwell, even though there are photos of them at parties together. But here's where Kim comes in. Kim started out as Paris's stylist and assistant. She was in the background of every photo. She followed Paris everywhere. And the way insiders tell it, Kim used that proximity to get into every elite circle Paris had access to.
I did not know that Kim Kardashian worked with her as an assistant. That's where her whole uprise began. That's actually crazy. And maybe it's even crazy that I didn't know that. Let me know if you actually knew about that in the comment section below. Let's continue.
Including the ones connected to Epstein and his network.
Wow.
Paris watched Kim get famous. Paris watched Kim become a billionaire. And Paris watched Kim quietly distance herself from all of this, while Paris got picked apart by the public. So Paris snapped, and insiders now say she's talking to investigators, laying out everything she's been holding back. Meanwhile, Kim's response has been lawsuits. She went after Ray J after his live stream rant where he said, quote, "This federal RICO though, on AKA Chris RICO, I'm about to drop on Chris." Ray J later filed a countersuit, calling Kim's lawsuit a public relations move. And here's the detail that people keep pointing to. The FBI investigation hasn't closed. It's just gone quiet. And as Rogan said about the whole Epstein situation, when powerful people go quiet, it's not because there's nothing there. It's because there's too much. Kim has been distancing from Paris, cutting ties to Diddy, cleaning up records, and her name keeps coming up anyway. Somewhere in all of this, according to people close to the story, there is a folder with Kim's name on it. Whether it ever becomes public is a different question.